was contemplating all the decisions I had made in my life as a chess player, which I think that we all do a lot of times. And whilst doing this, I was playing around with my earring because when I'm bored, that's what I do. I was playing round 9 of the Women's European Blitz Chess Championship, and I don't know why I just said Blitz instead of Blitz, but that is the Swedish word for it. But after waiting around for a little bit, my opponent smiled at me. I smiled back, and she sat down in front of me at the table. And she had the cutest little bear with her. I thought it was so incredibly cute. This was Dr Anita Stangl, who was a German 1900 player, and I thought it was really cool that she had the title of doctor, and she was wearing such a cool t-shirt and just literally had the most positive spirit ever, and it just felt good to play chess against her. It made me happy. People keep saying, Anna, why don't you smile when your opponent sits down? Well, we're in a competitive environment. This is a European championship. But of course, smiling is better than not smiling. So anyways, we kind of waited around a little bit. She was adjusting her pieces. I started to concentrate and think about what I was going to do. And then we shook hands and she played 1e4. I replied with the Sicilian. She went out with her knight and we were blitzing out all of these moves really quickly. I have played this a million times and I knew exactly what I was going to do. So I went e5, threatening her knight. And I thought, are you going to take my knight? Are you going to play knight b5? Or are you going to play something completely different? She decided to play knight e2, which is a way you can play, but it's definitely not something that I am afraid of facing. I brought on my bishop to b4, and now immediately threatening to capture this pawn on e4. And she went bishop g5, which pretty quickly meant to me that if her bishop disappears, I can take a pawn on e4. So I threatened her bishop. Now she traded. I was able to get out my queen, and I now had the bishop pair, which to me meant that this was pretty great. I was feeling quite happy about having the bishop pair. But that happiness would maybe not last for that long, because I was considering here if I should trade off my bishop, and I was thinking, and I didn't really want to do it because obviously the bishop pair is amazing. They say that having a bishop pair in chess is like having 7 points instead of 6. And the bishops are worth 3 points, so 3 times 2 is 6. But no, they're worth 7 because they're so good together. They're like each other's best friend. So I decided to get rid of one of the best friends and take the knight. And it wasn't something that I wanted to do, but I definitely did not want her to be able to bring out her knight to the center and threaten my bishop as well. Although I do think actually that it was wrong of me to trade off the bishops. Anyways, I now castled and she brought out her knight to the center. Fantastic square. I went queen g6, threatening now her e4 pawn. And she had to defend it. What was she going to do to defend it? We were both playing really quickly. I was quite happy about my time management so far. And now she started thinking. Every time my opponent was thinking, I was literally contemplating her t-shirt because I just thought it was such a cool chess shirt. And those thoughts were gone as soon as she played queen d3 because I had to now develop my bishop. I went d6, planning to play f5 and bring out my light squared bishop to that diagonal. And here, she actually queenside castled. Very aggressive move. We were now going to have castles on the opposite sides of the board, which typically means that a race of pawns was about to happen. I started that by going f5. Not really seeing, actually, that I was kind of blundering a pawn. She could go knight c7 and threaten my rook, and the d6 pawn would be hanging, which honestly isn't really the end of the world because her e4 pawn is hanging too. But doesn't matter. None of that happened. She took on f5. I was able to bring out my bishop, and now all my dreams were coming true. My bishop was out. My queen was in a great position. My rook was amazing. I was going to bring a rook to c8. I was as happy as a chess player can be. I started feeling like this was going to be very difficult for her to hold. So she went queen b3. I decided that I didn't want to get into any weird trouble, and I simply played king h8, which was a great waiting move because she was threatening a lot of nasty things. Now she had to think. She only had a minute 20 left. And she decided to go c3 to protect her pawn on c2. I simply played rook c8. Almost didn't know where to press the clock, but found the button. And I was threatening all kinds of crazy plans with my knight now. She was thinking, and I could tell that she was an aggressive chess player. She wanted to go for the pawns, and sometimes we call these pawns poison pawns. She took my pawn on b7, and I have done that a million times as well, where I've gone greedy and wanted to get pawns because I'm feeling very aggressive. But I now knew, having my bishop, my queen, my rook, and my knight all pointing towards the king, that I had to be almost winning here. Most importantly, what I could tell was that her king was kind of cut off. So I played knight d4, and now I was threatening to go rook b8, threatening the queen, and then go knight b3, checkmate. My bishop on f5 was completely stopping the king from running away, and now we can see that this c3 move was actually making the king's escape even harder. So my knight in the center of the board was just now so strong, and she didn't know what to do. Her time was ticking down. She had 23 seconds left. I was just focused on finding how to checkmate her. Time was ticking down even more. And ultimately, she played the move rook e1, creating one extra square for the king to hide. I really wanted to play a move very quickly, but I decided to a little bit calculate, but then I just went rook b8, threatening the queen. Now with this idea that I mentioned before of going knight b3. And here it was going to be a forced checkmate after bishop c2 and then queen d3. And in this way, I checkmated my opponent in 21 moves, and she kind of smiled when she realized that it was a checkmate. So it felt amazing for me to win this game, especially out of the opening. It just felt so good. The arbiter came up, I told him that I won, and I was now really excited to make a comeback in this tournament and finish it stronger than I could ever have finished it before. So was I gonna get a great placement in the European Blitz Chess Championship? Watch the next videos to know.